Chains in the dust. The battle had ended only an hour ago. The skies over Venmara 6 were still black with smoke. The human base was quiet now. No gunfire, no screams. Just the soft hum of dying machines and the heavy wind blowing across red dust. Corporal Jack Rayner walked alone through the wreckage. His armor was scratched. His boots sank deep into the ash. His rifle hung loose in his hands, but there were no enemies left to shoot. He hated this part of war. The silence after, the broken bodies, the empty eyes. He stepped over a twisted metal cage, then paused. A sound. Very soft. Not metal. Not wind. A whimper. Jack stopped and looked around. He crouched, scanning the pile of wreckage beside him. Something shifted under the metal, small, weak, alive. He reached down and pulled at the debris. A few more broken plates fell away. Then he saw her, curled into a tight ball, shaking, was a young alien girl. She looked about 15 or 16, in human years. Her skin was pale blue, almost glowing. She had thin silver markings down her arms, and her wrists were chained together with dull black cuffs. Around her neck was a heavy shock collar. She didn't speak, just looked at him with wide, terrified eyes. Jack slowly raised his empty hands to show he wasn't a threat. "It's okay," he said softly. "I'm not going to hurt you." She flinched. He took a step closer. The girl whispered, voice weak and broken, "Please, no whip." Jack's chest tightened. He had seen fear before, but never like this. He dropped his rifle and knelt. The cuffs were old, alien tech, locked tight. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a multi-tool. It sparked as he worked, but finally, click, the cuffs opened. He moved to the collar. It was harder. He used a heat blade to slice through the control wire, burning his fingers. In the process, the collar fell. The girl stared at him, confused. "You're free," Jack said gently. "You can go." But she didn't run. Instead, she slowly crawled forward and wrapped her arms around his arm. Tight. She held on like her life depended on it. Jack froze. She wouldn't let go. Later that day, back at the human camp, Jack sat outside the supply tent. The girl sat beside him, still holding his sleeve. He had tried to feed her. She ate slowly, as if unsure the food was real. Other soldiers passed by and stared. "Hey, Jack," one said, frowning. "What's that thing doing here?" "She's not a thing," Jack snapped. Another soldier laughed. "She looks like one of those slaves the Krell used." "You really want to be seen with her?" Jack didn't answer. He just put an arm around the girl. She didn't flinch this time. Inside the command center, Jack stood before his captain. "You brought an unauthorized alien into the base," the captain said coldly. "That's a direct violation." "She was in chains," Jack replied. "She's just a kid." "She's a threat," the captain said. "We don't know what she is, or what she was made to do. Leave her behind." Jack's fists tightened. "She's staying with me." "Then keep her out of sight," the captain said. "If HQ finds out, we both burn." That night, inside the small tent, Jack gave her a blanket and water. She sat quietly in the corner, arms wrapped around her knees. "Do you have a name?" he asked. She looked up slowly, then whispered, "Lyra." Jack smiled. "Nice to meet you, Lyra." She pointed to her neck, where the collar had been. "No more pain," she said softly. "You stopped it." He nodded. "I did." She crawled over and sat beside him. "I owe you my life," she said. Jack looked at her. "You don't owe me anything." But she shook her head gently. "I will never leave your side." Outside, in the darkness beyond the tents, a small drone hovered, silent and unseen. Its red eye recorded Lyra's face and sent a message to someone watching far away. Target 143 identified. She is alive, and now protected by a human. The collar and the brand. The desert winds blew sharp the next morning. Inside Jack's supply tent, the soft hum of the medical scanner filled the silence. Lyra sat still on the cot, eyes wide, body tense. She didn't like machines. She flinched every time the scanner beeped. "It's just checking your vitals," Jack said gently. "I promise, no pain." She gave a small nod but didn't relax. He leaned closer, checking the readings. Her pulse was fast, body temperature low. But that wasn't the strange part. Her blood, it wasn't like any alien species in the database. It glowed faintly in the scan, almost alive. As Jack leaned over her, he noticed something hidden beneath her hair, a burn mark, just behind her left ear. It was a symbol, faint, like it had been branded long ago. But now it shimmered with dull blue light. "Lyra," he said, slowly. "What is this?" She turned her face away, ashamed. "The mark means property. They burned it when I was taken." Jack's jaw tightened. "By who?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "The Iron Chain." Jack had heard that name before. A black market group. Traders of stolen tech, weapons, and living beings. Some said they worked outside the law. Others said they controlled it from the shadows. He looked back at the brand. It wasn't just a mark. It was active. Later that evening, Lyra sat by the fire outside the tent. She stared at the flames, quiet and still. A soldier passed by and tossed her a piece of old fruit. "Hey, slave girl, catch." Jack stood up fast, fists clenched. But before he could say anything, Lyra's eyes flashed silver. The fruit never hit her. Instead, it stopped midair. Just floated. Then dropped softly into her lap. The soldier stared. "What the hell?" Jack stared too. "Lyra. What was that?" She looked down, embarrassed. "I didn't mean to. It just happens when I'm scared." Jack took her inside. He sat down in front of her. "You've done that before, haven't you?" She nodded slowly. "But I forgot most things after. They put the collar on. What else can you do?" "I don't know," she whispered. "Sometimes I hear people's thoughts. Sometimes I feel like I could break metal with my mind." Jack didn't answer. He was starting to understand. She wasn't just a slave. She was engineered. That night, Jack searched the military database. Deep, secret files. He bypassed security protocols, risking court-martial. Finally, he found something, buried under a name he didn't expect. Project Pale Light. Test subjects taken from royal alien bloodlines. Enhanced with stolen Earth tech. Designed to obey. Subjects were numbered. Lyra's name wasn't there, but the symbol on her neck was. She was Subject 143. Declared too unstable, too emotional, dangerous. Status terminated. Except she wasn't. She had survived. Outside the tent, Lyra suddenly stood up, eyes distant. "What is it?" Jack asked. She turned to him. "They're coming." "Who?" She pointed to the sky. "The people who put the collar on me." Jack grabbed his gear. "How? Do you know?" Her voice was calm now. "They always know when one of us wakes up." In orbit far above Venmara 6, a sleek dark ship received a signal. One word pulsed from Lyra's old collar code, now reactivated by her awakening. Awakened. Inside the ship, a voice spoke through the silence. "Target 143 is alive. Deploy the reclaimers. Kill the human." Targeted by allies, the sun rose over Venmara 6 like a burning eye. Inside the base, things had changed. Soldiers whispered behind Jack's back. Some avoided him. Others stared at Lyra with cold, quiet hate. She didn't speak much, but she could feel it. Their thoughts. Their fear. Jack stood in front of the command tent, helmet under his arm. He had just finished filing false reports, hiding Lyra's identity, her powers, and the glowing mark behind her ear. It was risky, but the truth would kill her. He stepped back into his tent. Lyra sat quietly, hands folded, watching the door. "They don't trust you anymore," she said. Jack nodded. "I know." She tilted her head. "Then why do you stay?" "Because I made a promise," he replied. "I said I'd protect you." An hour later, Jack was called to the command deck. Captain Harrow stood behind the desk, arms crossed. Behind him stood 2 security bots, both armed. Jack stepped in. "What's this?" he asked. The captain didn't answer. Instead, he slid a datapad across the table. It showed a grainy video. Lyra, stopping the flying fruit mid-air. Another showed her eyes glowing silver. Jack didn't speak. "Explain this," Harrow said coldly. "She's not a threat," Jack said. "She's a weapon," the captain snapped, "and you're helping her escape justice." "She was a slave," Jack growled. "We're soldiers, not monsters." Harrow raised a hand. The bot stepped forward. "You're under arrest for protecting a classified subject." Jack didn't wait. He swung his helmet like a hammer, knocking. One bot into the wall, the second raised its arm, but Jack ducked, kicked it backward, and ran. Alarms began to blare. Back at the tent, Lyra stood up as soon as she heard the sirens. "He's in danger," she whispered. She stepped outside, barefoot, into the dust. 2 guards spotted her. "Freeze." They raised their rifles. Lyra's eyes turned silver. The wind picked up. The guards fired, but the bullets stopped inches from her skin. They dropped to the ground like stones. The guards ran. Jack reached her seconds later, panting. "They're after both of us now," he said. "I know," she replied. "We have to go." They ran toward the back wall of the base, where old tunnels led into the jungle zone. Jack had memorized the map. It was risky, but they had no choice. Behind them, gunfire rang out, shouts, orders, "Shoot the alien, bring the human in alive." In the jungle, thick vines wrapped around broken metal towers, ruins of a city lost in the last war. Jack and Lyra slipped into the trees, breathing hard. They found a small shelter under a collapsed ship wing. Jack collapsed against the wall. "You okay?" he asked. Lyra nodded, then looked down. Her skin was glowing again, not just her eyes, her arms, her fingertips, her chest. "Something's happening," she said. Jack leaned closer. The brand behind her ear had changed. It now glowed red. Then, a sharp sound. Whirr, click. From the shadows, something stepped into view. Tall, armored, metal skin. Red glowing. "I's a bounty hunter. Not human, not Zarellan, something else." It raised a long weapon. Target locked, Lyra, 143. Jack stood, pulled out his pulse pistol. The hunter fired first. Jack was hit. He flew back, hit the wall hard. "Jack!" Lyra screamed, her voice echoed. Her eyes burst into light. The hunter raised its weapon again, but before it could fire, Lyra raised her hand. A wave of blue force exploded from her body. The hunter shattered. Its parts flew in every direction. Silence. Lyra ran to Jack. He was alive, but wounded. His breathing was shallow. She pressed her hand to his chest. "I won't let them take you," she whispered. "I told you," he said weakly. "You don't owe me anything." But she shook her head. Tears fell from her glowing eyes. "I'm not staying with you because I owe you," she said. "I'm staying because you're the only one who ever treated me like I was more than a thing." She pulled him close. "I'm not leaving your side." In orbit above Venmara 6, another dark ship received a message. "Target 143 has awakened full potential. First hunter destroyed." A voice growled. "Send the reclaimers." The past. She forgot. The jungle was silent after the fight. Jack lay under a broken tree trunk, his wound wrapped in cloth. He was alive, but weak. Lyra sat beside him, her hands glowing softly over his chest. Her energy flowed into his body, slowly healing him. She didn't understand how it worked, but it did. Every time she touched him, the pain lessened. His breath steadied. His heartbeat grew stronger. "I'm not a doctor," she whispered, "but I won't let you die." Later, as Jack slept, Lyra wandered deeper into the ruins. The old city was strange, alien walls covered in moss, carved symbols. Some she couldn't read, but some she could. Her fingers brushed across a stone tablet. Words burned into her mind. Daughter of the crown flame, carrier of the echo signal. Her knees went weak. Memories hit her like thunder. She was 5, standing in a palace. Blue skies, warm arms. Around her, a woman with silver hair, her mother. A voice. You are the key, Lyra. If we fall, you must hide. And when you wake, the flame must rise again. Then screams, smoke, soldiers breaking through the doors, a man with red armor, the shock collar snapping around her neck, her screams fading into darkness. Lyra gasped and fell to the ground. She held her head. It all returned. I'm not just anyone, she looked at her hands. I'm the lost daughter of the Zyrian flame, the last of the ruling line. Her voice trembled. I was never just a slave. I was the reason they started hunting my kind. Back at the shelter, Jack woke slowly. His side still hurt, but he could move. He turned and saw Lyra walking toward him, but she was different now, her back straighter, her step stronger, her eyes glowing not from fear but from memory. You okay? Jack asked. I remember who I am, she said. He sat up. Who are you? She knelt beside him. I am Lyra, daughter of Queen Orlin of the Zyrian flame. She placed a hand on his chest. And you saved the last heir to a forgotten throne. Jack blinked. Does that make me royalty now? He joked weakly. Lyra laughed. It was the first time he heard her laugh. A real laugh. It felt like light in a dark place, but the joy didn't last long. Suddenly the ground shook, a noise overhead, engines. Not 1, not 2, a fleet. Ships descended from the sky, black and sharp like flying blades. At the front, a reclaimer transport, heavy, deadly, and inside it, a commander-class hunter. Jack and Lyra stood side by side as the jungle lit up with red searchlights. They're here for me, she said. No, Jack said. They're here for us. Lyra looked at him. I know what I must do now, she whispered. What? I must go to the Zyrian vault. If I can unlock it, I can end this. The reclaimers, the collars, the chains, all of it. Jack nodded. I'll go with you. You're not strong enough. I'll go anyway. Above them in the lead ship, the commander hunter received the signal. Target confirmed. Royal code active. Prepare extraction. One of the drones blinked. But sir, she's with a human. The commander's eyes narrowed. Then kill the human first. The chase, the jungle burned behind them. Explosions lit the trees in flashes of red and orange. Giant roots were ripped from the ground. Smoke filled the sky. The reclaimers had landed, and they were not waiting. Jack ran through the trees, blood still seeping from his side. Every step was a battle, his breath was short. His legs were heavy, but he didn't stop, because Lyra was running ahead of him, glowing like a torch in the dark. She paused near a rock wall, turned back, and saw him stumble. You can't keep going like this, she said, voice sharp with worry. I'm not letting you face them alone, Jack replied, dragging himself forward. Lyra knelt and placed a hand over his ribs. Her skin shimmered. The pain faded slightly, but healing him was costing her energy. Too much of it. I'm slowing you down, Jack admitted. Lyra looked him in the eyes. Then I'll run slower. Suddenly a sound came from above. A reclaimer, drone sliced through the trees. Its red beam locked onto Lyra. Target 143 located. Prepare for capture. Jack raised his pistol and fired. The drone dodged and returned fire. The blast missed, but Lyra threw up her hand. A wall of force exploded from her body. The drone slammed into a tree and shattered. Jack looked at her, stunned. That's new. Lyra's eyes dimmed slightly. I'm not sure how I did it. But we'll need more of that, Jack said, helping her up. They reached the edge of a cliff. Below, far down in a valley of silver trees, stood a black stone gate shaped like an eye. The Xerian Vault. Lyra's pulse quickened. "I remember this place," she whispered. "It holds the flame's heart, the core of our royal power." Jack stared down. "We're close, but behind them." The ground shook. Trees snapped. Heavy footsteps approached. Out of the fire and smoke stepped a tall figure, covered in silver-black armor. Its eyes glowed red. "Commander Reclaimer." He pointed at Lyra. "You belong to us." Jack raised his pistol. The Reclaimer raised his blade. "You are nothing," he said to Jack. "Just human trash." Lyra stepped forward. "She is not your property," Jack said through clenched teeth. "I am not your weapon," Lyra added. "You were made for war," the Reclaimer replied. "You were forged in chains." Lyra's voice grew stronger. "I may have been born in chains, but I woke up in kindness." She took Jack's hand. "And I choose to fight beside the one who gave me my freedom." The Reclaimer attacked. He moved like lightning, his blade slicing through the air. Jack barely blocked the strike with his pistol, which shattered from the impact. Lyra launched forward, palms glowing. She clashed with the Reclaimer in a flash of energy. Jack stumbled back, injured, watching in awe. She fought like no one he had ever seen. Fast, graceful, deadly. But still, she was only one, and the Reclaimer was stronger. He threw her across the clearing. She hit a tree hard, gasped, fell. The Reclaimer turned toward Jack. "Time to erase your mistake." He lifted his blade, but then Lyra screamed. Her eyes exploded, with light. She rose into the air, her body burning blue. The trees bent from the force around her. The mark behind her ear flared, and then vanished. Lyra spoke, but her voice echoed like thunder. "I am not Subject 143. She raised her hand. "Am Lyra of the Flame," and a beam of energy burst from her body, blasting the Reclaimer straight off the cliff. He vanished in fire. Jack rushed to her. She fell into his arms, weak and trembling. "You did it," he whispered. "I don't know how," she said. He held her close. "You don't have to. Just stay with me," she nodded. Down in the valley, the vault gates slowly opened, called by Lyra's awakening, and far away, in the black halls of a hidden Reclaimer base, 100 red lights blinked on. Target 143 has activated the vault. Begin full pursuit. The awakening. The vault gates opened with a long, deep rumble. The stone eye split down the center, revealing a glowing path beneath the earth. Jack helped Lyra down the slope, one arm around her shoulders. Her steps were weak, her body shaking from the energy she used to destroy the Reclaimer. But her eyes burned brighter than ever. "This is where it ends," she said quietly. Jack looked at her. "Or maybe where it really begins." Inside the vault, the walls pulsed with blue and gold light. Strange symbols floated in the air. The air smelled of metal and flowers. At the center of the chamber stood a pedestal. Hovering above it was a crystal flame, spinning slowly in the air. Lyra stopped. "The heart of the flame," she whispered. "My family's power. Passed down for 1,000 years. Jack stared at it. "You sure you're ready for this?" Lyra didn't answer right away. Then she reached for the flame. The moment her fingers touched it, everything changed. Light exploded through the chamber. Memories, not her own, poured into her mind. Her mother standing in the flame tower, the Reclaimers breaking through the palace gates, her father falling, shouting her name, the escape pod, the cold of the collar, the silence of slavery, the voice of a human soldier saying, "You're safe now." She saw it all, felt it all, and through it all, one constant. Jack. Outside, the ground shook. More Reclaimer ships landed near the vault entrance. Troops marched toward the gate. But the sky began to change. Clouds parted, a storm formed. Not from weather, but from power, from Lyra. Jack shielded his eyes. "Lyra?" She rose into the air, glowing head to toe. The flame merged with her chest. Her hair lifted like it was underwater. The mark on her neck burned away, replaced by a golden sigil. The room calmed. She landed softly. Jack stepped forward, stunned. "You're different," she smiled faintly. "I remember everything now. My name, my purpose, my power." "And me?" Jack asked quietly. She stepped closer. "You're not part of my past, Jack. You're part of my future." Outside, a reclaimer commander waited for the signal to attack, but suddenly the vault doors opened and Lyra stepped out. Behind her, Jack walked with calm steps, pulse rifle on his back. The commander raised a blaster. Lyra didn't flinch. She lifted one hand and the weapon melted into sparks. The soldiers froze. She spoke one word, "Leave," half-turned and ran. The rest knelt. They had seen the symbol on her chest. They knew the stories. They had hunted her, but never believed she'd return. Until now. Later, on a hill overlooking the valley, Jack and Lyra sat in silence. "So what, now?" he asked. "You could return to Earth," she said. "Live your life." He looked at her, smiled. "You really think I can go back to normal after all this?" She smiled back. "Then stay." "With you?" She nodded. "With me? As my guard, my guide, or something more?" He took her hand. "I'm not going anywhere." Far away, in the black of space, an old beacon lit up. It had waited for centuries. Now it knew. The flame had returned, and the stars would burn new again. The one she chose, the galaxy was watching. News of the Vault's awakening had spread far beyond Venmara 6. Across both human and alien systems, whispers grew louder. The lost flame lives. The alien girl is no longer a slave. She walks beside a human, and the reclaimers were furious. High above, in orbit, a reclaimer dreadship arrived. It was the last. The biggest, the one built for extinction. Commander Drac stood at its helm, voice like grinding stone. "She has defied her purpose. She walks with the enemy. She must be erased." He didn't come for capture. He came for cleansing. On the ground, Lyra stood, on the steps of the vault. Wind moved through her hair. She wore a cloak woven from the flame's energy. Light pulsed at her fingertips. The golden sigil on her chest glowed like a rising sun. Jack stood beside her, armored and ready, pulse rifle slung across his back. But he wasn't here to fight a war. He was here for her. "Are you sure about this?" he asked quietly. Lyra nodded. "I am. But there's something I haven't told you." He turned. "What?" "If I take full control of the flame's heart, I can stop them. For good." "That's good, right?" She hesitated. "But it might mean giving up everything that makes me. Jack was silent. Then he stepped closer. "If you forget me," he whispered, "I'll remind you as many times as it takes." The sky cracked. The dreadship fired its first cannon. It wasn't a beam. It was a memory eraser pulse, designed to wipe genetic knowledge from an entire species. Lyra stepped forward. She raised her hands and caught the blast. Not with a shield. Not with power, with her mind. The pulse bent, twisted, and shattered like glass. Jack stared. "How?" "I chose not to forget," she said. "I chose you." Then she rose. Not flying. Rising. The flame around her burst outward. The ground trembled. Her voice echoed across the battlefield. "You tried to chain me. You tried to erase me. You made me forget who I was. But this human reminded me." She turned to Jack. "Because he saw more than my scars, he saw my soul." Then she turned to the sky. "And now you will see what happens when you set a soul free." Light poured from her, not as a weapon, as a wave. Across the planet, reclaimer ships shut down. Their engines died. Their weapons melted. Their memories, their programming, burned away. The dreadship groaned as its systems crashed. Commander Drax screamed and was gone. Silence returned. The war ended in a single breath. Lyra dropped to her knees. Jack caught her. Her eyes were tired, her body drained, but her voice was still steady. "It's over." Jack held her close. "No, it's just beginning." Months passed. The flame returned, not as a kingdom but as a movement. Lyra led it, not as a queen, but as a free soul. Jack remained by her side, not as a protector, but as an equal. They traveled to broken worlds. They freed others still chained. And everywhere they went, they left behind hope. One night, beneath two moons, Lyra looked at Jack. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Not leaving me that day in the wreckage?" Jack smiled. "I didn't free you, Lyra." He took her hand. "You freed me." Far, across the galaxy, an old machine in an abandoned lab blinked for the first time in centuries. A single word lit up its screen. Harmony. And for the first time, the universe began to heal.